Hello and welcome to the Final Fantasy IV Free Enterprise Lali-Ho League. This is week 2 of the Swiss pairings of this tournament, and we've got a match today between BursikBadger and groundflier. My name is Rex Raoul, and I am being joined at the booth by Kinda Nerdy Housewife. KNH, how's everything going today, and what are you looking forward to seeing today?
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to seeing an Edward and a Kane because those are our two randomized objectives for the match. Of course, our first three objectives have been set for the entire tournament. Use the twin harp to listen to the music at Cave Magnus. Forge together the legend and the adamant sword. Trade away the peak tail. But those last two are randomized for every match.
And of course, we have to complete 4 out of the 5 objectives in order to be rewarded with the crystal to transform Zeromus into a form that we can defeat. These two runners today, both sitting at 0-1, neither one of them wants to drop their second race today, so there's everything to fight for today.
Yep, the more matches you lose in the Swiss rounds, the harder it is to get to the bracket rounds, so you want to eke out as many of those wins as you can.
Absolutely. So really looking forward to seeing what they have to do. Just for a little bit of history, so far in this event, BursikBadger dropped to Golden Hades, whereas groundflier took a loss to Emily's Poorly Drawn Bees. So we've got some people who are hungry for a win today, and those competitors who beat them are going to be ones that are going to be scary to face in the future as well.
Yep, and it looks like we are starting with Iridia today. I know a lot of runners have been using Iridia as a agility anchor because she starts at level 1 with almost no agility. But if you get a few good summons right off the bat, she can also really carry you through the early game.
Find a decent whip and something like a heroin armor, which can be found in chests in this flag set, so you can get a decent physical game out of her if need be. I think if the second character is someone who's useful, the thought is going to cross the minds of the runners to do just as you say and use her as an agility anchor.
Yep, that is for sure. Okay, our runners should be getting started any second here.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the delay to catch up because they've actually already started about 15 minutes ago, but we're seeing it on the delay, and it should be starting very shortly for us.
Time travel.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little bit more Final Fantasy I's wheelhouse, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. And here we go. So our Rydia today will be joined by a Palom, and a purple cloak is going to hand us a darkness crystal. So that already opens up another character slot. You could go right to that moon if you want and see who's on the lunar throne.
Surprised if our runners try to do that relatively early, what with having 2 character objectives to in the mix today.
Yep, this is also a bit of a squishy mage party. Not a lot of HP here right now, but we do start with the new Dwarven starter kit, which includes rune rings, a wizard hat, and a wizard robe. So you can get a little bit of defense on those mages right away.
Without a doubt, and those rune rings are real primo nice for mages, and they boost both the white and black magic stat, as well as being relatively good for defense. Looks like Bursik is going to be the one to raise the big whale, whereas groundflier doing a little bit more traditional looting around Baron Castle.
Yep, this whale cutscene does take a bit, so it is nice to get it out of the way early. I wouldn't be surprised if he immediately goes and checks that character on the throne and possibly see what the Hummingways have for sale.
Also do a little cheeky looting of the Cave Bahamut, since none of the chests in there are trapped, and you can also get knowledge as to what boss is there, just in case.
Yep, that is for sure. I usually like to have a source of exit before I go in there. But it is only 3 floors long, so it's not like that it's that long to run in and out.
And that way, I guess with the starting kit, you can sell 5 of those rune rings without a doubt right away, and you can have some money for shopping on the moon just with what we're given at the beginning.
Yeah, it's been fun to balance how many rune rings you want to sell versus how many you actually want to keep for equipment. And Bursik deciding half is the correct number does pick up some exits there. Those are always useful to have early game.
Yeah, that might be a little bit more incentive to do that looting route. Even if it's not there, maybe somewhere else in the game too. Just go a little bit deeper into your looting early, and then you don't have to do as much later because you've done a little bit more at the beginning and you know what you've got working with.
Exactly.
Groundflier not too far behind, also heading over to Mysidia to launch that lunar whale. And we see some saves being made too. I don't think Bursik is going to make a trip to the Giant, but just in case this isn't a very fruitful character check, might just want to be able to reset instead of going through the cutscene to go back to the blue planet.
Yep, every time you take the whale and traverse between the celestial spheres, it does take approximately 12 seconds. And that's not including walking out of your airship. Let's see what the Hummingways have. Hourglasses, always useful. They stop the enemies that do not have the boss bit for a significant amount of time.
Yeah, it's good against some of the bosses which don't have that boss bit, but it's also good in several grinds and for the majority of trap chests as well.
Yep, and the trap chests are one of the few ways to get those tier 7 items. With the new flag we have, those tier 7 items are only available in failed key item checks and trap chests.
If you're looking for a crystal sword for a Cecil, that's the way to do it. It looks like we've got another squishy wizard in Tella up on the lunar dais.
Tella is nice because he has that exit spell, and he does have a little more HP, both than Rydia and Palom, but still pretty squishy.
He doesn't provide a whole lot of offense. This party is going to have a little bit of a difficult time taking down bosses in the early part of the game. Once you get a couple levels on Palom, he learns those level 2 elemental spells and becomes much more of a force. I don't know if our characters have checked what our starting equipment for our characters are. If either Palom or Rydia is been given a dancing dagger, then they're probably just good to go starting off.
Yep, it does look like groundflier is going to take your advice and go through the value cave and hope to find some good treasures. Meanwhile, Bursik looting the treasury in the Damsian castle. Our restreamer saying Flame Rod and Lilith Rod was the starting weapons. Not too much there.
BursikBadger finds a power robe in the basement of Damsian. Very good piece of equipment for melee fighters. Meanwhile, Groundflier found a pack of Artemis arrows and sees it's either going to be the Baron or Kaipo guards on the throne for Bahamut. Those are going to be ones that are susceptible to that hourglass that was purchased. So that's a pretty nice one. It looks like also a Leviathan summon found. I don't know if that was in Baron. I think probably in Baron somewhere. And so that's going to make Rydia very useful once she has enough MP to summon it.
Yeah, she only starts with a few MP though, so she's going to have to get a few more levels on her before she can even call that water serpent.
And now it's back to the blue planet for Groundflier. And meanwhile, BursikBadger is doing a little bit of equipping. I don't know if this is Antlion or more likely, I think, Mount Hobbs. Going to try to see if we can get a better character up there.
Yep, being that we have 2 character checks, getting these, or 2 characters for objectives, getting these character checks out of the way is a good idea. And we're going to see
first gonna,
who's at the waterfall on one side and who's at the mist cave on the other. We see Golbez in the waterfall, and in the mist cave we got D-Lunars. So neither of those are required bosses.
Those are going to be a relief to see in those spots because both of those bosses can be really annoying depending on where you find them. And knowing that you don't have to fight them at all throughout the seed is really nice.
Yep, looks like Bursik is headed to Antlion Cave. This is one of the easiest boss spots in the randomizer, so it's a common first stop. It's also nice, it's only 3 floors long, and it has a ton of treasure chests, so a very common early game visit.
And rewarded with a samurai bow. That's a pretty decent bow to find this early in the game as well. I believe he also found an elven bow in Leviathan, so being set up with the bows. Both Rydia and Palom can use bow and arrows if need be. We'll see if that's the decision, and it looks like at least going to back row Rydia, although Whip will do that as well, but just kind of deciding what options to use for this first boss.
It looks like we are going with Archer Palom here.
With that power robe too, that's pretty nice. And I believe that was a crystal ring that Groundflier just found, as well as a heroin robe here in the old waterway. This is a pretty nice little looting run here by Groundflier.
Yeah, it is really paying off. This looting route does take a little bit longer, but it is a little bit higher tier of items as well.
And that's what Tella adds to the team, is the access to that exit spell to make it so it's not as long a time that's involved.
Oh, look who we have. We have a Mist Dragon.
The Dragon of the Mist. And this is going to be a pretty nice little prize early in the game. Unfortunately, it's probably not one that Groundflier is going to miss. With this party, doing Antlion makes a lot of sense. Not skipping it. You want to get some levels and some levels easily. So I imagine that this isn't going to be an edge for BursikBadger, but it's still going to be a very nice thing to get. And it's getting 2 checks in 1 is always nice.
Yeah, and it completely eliminates your need for boss hunts at this point.
True.
Ooh, extra value. We get a twin harp. That is going to be what we need to complete objective number 1.
Yeah, very nice find here. This is not a day to fade Antlion.
Yeah, that is for sure. Looks like Groundflier is gonna unmoor the hovercraft here. With that trade away the pinktail objective, it's highly likely we'll need that hovercraft at some point, so might as well get it done now. And
Rydia is going to Rydia's mom.
And
there's a sand ruby.
Yep, that's going to be nice for another character check. Hopefully a Edward or Kane is up there.
I think Groundflier checked it, but it was very fast and I couldn't see who it was. But I'm sure Bursik is going to give us a nice peek.
Yep, no one has gone to Hobbs yet either. There is also a completely ungated character check up there. Let's see what Rydia gets from Mount Hobbs today. That one is Mage, I believe. I believe that is the drop you get from the Mind Flayer. Not a super useful summon, so it's resetting right out of that.
So we're going to see these 2 character checks kind of simultaneously as Groundflier climbing Mount Hobbs, BursikBadger in Kaipo, where the turn-in of the Sand Ruby is going to be. Ooh, another Tella, but a free fight in the King Queen Evelyn, if you want that experience. But Groundflier does not want to take the time and resets out of it.
Yeah, that fight does take a little bit of time because at this point you'd probably be just waiting for the script to run out. Understandable for sure. And I love Tella, but even I think that two Tellas is one Tella too many.
Yeah, a little bit of diminishing returns on the old man Tella there. The BursikBadger now up into the upper right, and we see that's another twin there.
I think that's Porum. It's hard to tell when they're covered up with blankets.
I know. I always go by the the color of the shirt.
And groundflier now also doing the demist fight.
Yeah, I believe that is Porum there by the larger sprite. So we do have a dedicated white mage now, but our team is still very squishy. And well, we got to the point where we should have starting to get these level 2 elemental spells, so that's pretty good. BursikBadger about to get the bad news that the summon here is. But we'll see if he wants to keep it.
If you're unaware, because they're actually really difficult to encounter in the vanilla casual game, there are 4 secret summons that are rare drops from specific enemy types, and the mage is one of them. But none of them are terribly useful for the randomizer.
The most useful of those, I believe, would be the cockatrice, but yeah, none of them are great.
But they are in the pool of summons that Rydia can get on Hobbs.
So yeah, we've got a very magical team lining up for us right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. All mages all the time. Bursik looks like is getting prepared to do the Fabul defense. Yep, running right up to the king to start this quest.
This is the sort of team. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, this is the sort of team that might have a little bit of a problem, even though we've got access to that Twin Heart. That spot in the Cave Magnus, the boss spot there, has notoriously high magic defense. So having access to like that heroine robe that we saw groundflier pick up, the power robe that Bursik has on his palum, those are the sort of things, if we want to try, or if we have to try with a squad like this, you're going to have to open up your options and think about these characters as more than just magic users.
Just about to say the same thing. Unfortunately, BursikBadger finding Mom Bomb here. Mom Bomb's first phase here has extra HP added to it so that we just don't squish it all the time. So unfortunately with this team, we're definitely going to have to sit through the explosion phase here. And the 6 little bomblets actually do pretty good physical damage, and we don't have a lot of HP. So this is a little bit dangerous, but twin magic is a great idea here. With the randomizer, any 2 twins can do twin magic.
This is the standard combination of Palom and Porum, of course. They always can do it, but yeah, if you've got 2 Porums, you can do twin. You have 2 Paloms, you can do twin. It's great. One thing of note, I don't think groundflier has done as much looting as BursikBadger has done overall. At least has not found those nice bows. Rydia here with the heroine robe, but has to rely on a great bow as her bow for the bow and arrow. And the great bow, it's not so great.
A poorly named bow, I guess.
I always thought so. It's like the second worst bow in the game.
The just okay bow.
Is that a defense sword?
Ooh, that was a defense sword.
We know Kane is in the seed somewhere, and that is one of his best weapons.
Ground Flyer, right on BursikBadger's heels, taking out this Mom Bomb.
Yeah, luckily it doesn't. We get our characters in the back row. We start off with those rune rings. The defense is pretty good. Mom Bomb doesn't punch too hard, so Tella able to keep the team healed up. Might be a little bit slow going, but no problem doing it. The BursikBadger had a little bit of an advantage with access to that twin spell to take out all the little bombs. We'll see how groundflier handles that challenge.
Groundflyer's Palom does have the level 2 elemental spells now, and that should be enough AoE to take out these little bomblets.
That is the plan, as the Ice 2 is queued up right now.
BursikBadger checking those armor shops, most likely looking for a curse ring. Or any mage gear at this point.
Gaia helmets, Gaia hats. These are the sort of things that you really want for your Palom and your Rydia. You get the one wizard hat and the wizard robe at the start. They're a little bit better suited for Porum overall, but you'd really like to get some gear that boosts the will for the black magic users. Or, excuse me, the wisdom. Wisdom for black magic, will for white magic.
Ooh, and we have found our Edward. He is hanging out in the Baron Inn with Dark Knight Cecil. Maybe with some clever healing. The problem here is even if you survive this Dark Knight Cecil, there's a second boss fight here, and you're not going to have a lot of HP for that second boss fight. So unless it's free, it's going to be hard for BursikBadger to get through this.
Yeah, you have to hope for something like a water hag, or even that might be too much here. And
Canazzo is not that thing. Immediate reset. Slam in the reset button.
The nice thing about that second spot is it's relatively slow. You should be able to manage getting especially with all the people who could cast Lit 1 in this party, managing the wave. But the punches that do come out from Kenatsu are going to be pretty strong at that boss spot as well.
And when you're left with just a weakened Tella, not a winning proposition there. BursikBadger going to Ordeals. I like this play. Because if that Tella actually has some offensive magic, he can do a lot more. And completing the gauntlet of bosses at the top of this mountain will unlock all of Tella's available spells.
Yeah, it's a good play. It's also good to kind of not keep bonking your head against a boss that's just going to cause you problems. If you don't have the way to deal with the boss in the Baron Inn right now, and you've got another place open to you, do that other place first, and then you might be better suited for that boss later too. So I also like this play of going to Mount Ordeals right now.
Yeah, and with the experience up here, I find most of the time when I complete Mount Ordeals with Palom, by the time I'm done with the mountain, he'll have that virus spell, and that's a huge advantage.
And even just a couple more, dozen hit points will help survive one of the waves, and you might be able to get the heal off and keep a lot more of your characters alive for the Kenatsu fight too. So there's a lot of advantages for going up here right now. You see groundflier.
We got an Ogopogo blocking away the way. Luckily, Tella does have that cure too, so he's going to be able to cure up the damage from those waves.
Another fight that you don't really want to use magic against. So once again, having to use these characters who are really more designed to be mages as physical attackers. So this is really going to be something to test our runners' ability to adapt.
Yeah, for sure. Our little bow mage there, though, doing a lot of damage with those arrows. Now, Groundflyer's in a much better position to survive this Kenatsu, but it's going to be tough, and Tella goes down right then. I say something, and Tella goes down immediately. And yep, there's the wipe.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
physical
think
attack.
we're definitely gonna want some more levels before we take that on again.
And that's one another thing that Badger might have an advantage for that fight on is having that extra character. Having four characters versus three means that there's fewer like if more characters survive the first fight, then there's more targets for the physical attack to hit as well.
Ground flyer thinking, I can do this. I can do this. So going right back in. Does have that Ashura and enough MP to use it, so that's always good for well, 2/3 of the time it's good for a full heal.
Without a
Versus
doubt.
finding the evil wall in a back attack spot. Uh, this feels doable, but I'm gonna want to get a slow on this guy as soon as I'm able to, because if he does make it all the way to you, he will start crushing your party.
Well, this spot isn't too bad for hit point totals, and this is one where you can absolutely go all out with your magic. So I don't know if Bursik found that Leviathan that we saw Groundflyer find earlier, so I'm not sure if that's an option, but we definitely have the level 2 magic from Talum that can be used here, and we see throwing out a Gaia drum, making use of those attack items that are found only in the Japanese version of the game, but available to us in free enterprise. Using them early because you're going to have more powerful options to you later in the game.
See Bursik's stream stuttering a little bit. Let's see. Ground Flyer also heading into the first fight on Ordeals. So our runners are pretty close here. There's been slight variation with loot checks, but other than that, it's pretty darn close. I do think Bursik's one advantage right now is having a second twin.
Yeah. I think that Porum is going to be big, especially once we get to the point where she learns Berserk. Not just for now, but for later when we find characters like that Kane. But even like being able to Berserk up that Samurai Bow Palom on a spot like for the Twin Harp could be big later in the game.
And I mentioned the 2/3 chance of a full heal. Well, Ground Flyer hit that 1/3 on Ashura, and it kind of completely threw off the rhythm of that fight. So he's just going to start it over. And Bursik here. Oh, and we're through. But having to deal with the evil walls petrify a bit, but is actually through. So that is great. One more fight, and we'll get a key item check, and Tella will know all his spells.
Yeah, it's always nice once Tella gets full powered. He doesn't have a lot of HP, or excuse me, well, he doesn't have a lot of HP. He doesn't have a lot of MP either. So you've got to be real precise with what magic you use with him. I think Bursik did buy a couple of ethers, so that'll help somewhat, but you really want to be smart with how you use Tella's magic.
That is for sure. Tella's useful, but yeah, that limited MP pool is just cruel sometimes. Anyway, our key item check. We get a package, so that is another character check. If we're lucky, Kane will be there. And it looks like we're fighting a Leviathan. That should be no problem at all. His thunder weakness is easily exploitable by at least 3/4 of our characters.
It's going to be an interesting choice for the package. I mean, if it turns out to be Kane, of course you're going to sit through it because you want to get that objective done. Same with Edward. But with other characters, what if it's Cecil? You probably want to take him because his upside is really good. Same with Edge, I'd imagine. But when you get to those other characters like Yang and Sid, our team could really use a physical attacker, but do you want to sit through a cutscene for a character like him? I think that's going to be a really interesting decision that the runners may have to make.
Yeah, that's true, especially with that Cave Magnus check sitting over our head right now. because having a physical character for that's going to make that go so much easier.
I mean, ideally, it'll be Kane. You could equip that defense sword and just, knock bosses around really easily. But we'll see
That's
what option is there.
that is what a kind seed would do.
Yeah, and this seed hasn't been super kind so far, I would say.
Yeah, I've seen worse, but this wasn't exactly an easy start. Let's see what Bursik does while Groundflier finishing off that evil wall. Is
Going
actually going to
immediately.
package check. Ooh, Cecil.
It is Cecil. Personally, I'd keep Cecil. His upside is just so huge in this flying set, I think.
Yep, and we just did ordeals, and Cecil can also equip that defense sword we got.
Yes.
The queen, very angry today, bursting into flames.
Yeah, and there's no reset here. Bursik wants this paladin.
Yeah, I don't blame him. With all the key item checks you have to do, and a lot of those are just going to be good equipment and not key items, there's a high probability you'll run across either a Excalibur or a Crystal Sword. And once Cecil has one of those, he's pretty much unstoppable. And the fact we already have a defense sword makes him immediately useful right out of the gate.
Meanwhile, Groundflier has defeated that evil wall and now gets the package. We'll fight this Leviathan. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. I think those other two fights on top of Mount Ordeals were much more difficult than this third fight. They usually are, but in this case, it's no exception.
The one nice thing is Groundflier has been able to make really good use of that Leviathan summon he picked up.
Yes. Yeah, that is something that really is going to make a lot of work out of a lot of bosses.
As we see a little bit of Leviathan versus Leviathan, getting our kaiju battle for the day.
Only we had Mecha Leviathan.
Now I want to Photoshop that. Uh-oh, if this lunar sparkle is Wyvern, it is, uh-oh. But the spot is luckily pretty slow, gets the Star Veil off, we're good to go.
Even able to get the flare off.
Out, yeah.
It's one of those spots where it looks scary, but luckily we could deal.
Yeah. That spot has like no HP because it is basically a random encounter level fight in the vanilla game. And we have a paladin. What's nice is we've already done Mount Ordeals, so he is just online immediately. Let's see if Groundflier does the same package check. Looks like it. Oh, nope, fooled me.
Looks like gonna do the Sand Ruby turn in. Gonna get that Forum now is my guess.
That wouldn't be surprising. Let's see, what are our chances of the Kaipo Inn lady being mean? Yeah,
if you move precisely, get there and get out as quickly as possible, the Kaipo lady is always good to you. If you stall at all, then she'll be nasty.
Yeah, I'm not a perfect input person, so I will definitely get blocked by her sometimes. Looks like Bursik now feeling more confident to take on this Dark Knight Cecil Kainatsu duo. Has way more HP, has a Cecil with a defense sword, so that Dark Knight doesn't even get off a single wave.
Yeah, much better position now. In great position to defeat Kainatsu. This should be, I imagine Bursik will have this one now. So very well like reasoned play there. And I think groundflier is going to be right behind him, but no Cecil for groundflier.
Yeah, groundflier definitely going to have a little bit harder time here.
Oh, and he didn't pick up that forum. Just went a little shopping in Kaipo. Did not want the character at this point, too. So still just rocking those 3 characters in his team.
Despite that, our runners are basically tied right now.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like getting the key items, doing the checks that are out there, yeah, they're about the same level, but their party composition is going to make it so that some things are going to be a lot easier for BursikBadger and some things are going to be a lot easier for groundflier. Groundflier with that access to that Leviathan is going to be able to do some stuff, especially if there's any bosses with like lots of targets that you have to get at once. He's really well suited up for that. For ones that you don't want to use magic on, BursikBadger is much better suited for. And there's the hook. Do we have a possibly?
Yeah, we're running out of overworld checks. There's not a lot of places we could get them. I don't think Twin Harp. We could get a magma key at Twin Harp.
Yeah.
And actually,
Yeah.
Bursik with that nice Dark Knight Cecil, you saw that defense sword putting out the damage. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there next.
Yeah, I would say Bursik is in a much better position to take out the Cave Magnus boss than Groundflier, because that Leviathan summon is not going to do a whole lot of damage there.
No, that spot has ridiculously high magic defense. But both our players getting that Edward and completing objective number 4.
Bursik not taking the Bard into the team. Groundflier still at the spot, so it does. So looks like both of them are heading over to the Toria area. We might see some synchronous twin harping here, but Bursik is going to do some shopping first. Probably still looking for that curse string.
Yep. Curse rings are nice if you can get them. There are enough low agility characters in these seeds where you don't necessarily need a curse string, but it is always good to have, especially for those really fast spots where just that little bit of agility adjustment can really make a difference.
And one of the things that the starting kit can help you with that too in the Dwarf Axe. It's not quite as significant as the curse string, but that's another thing that you can use to help manipulate your agility. Another interesting thing is, I think it makes a lot more sense that BursikBadger is searching for that curse string because he's working with a party with 5 characters in it already, whereas Groundflier still has a slot open and still knows where there's some low-level characters, low agility characters that he can add at a whim. So he doesn't need to spend the time to search for the curse ring, where Bursik could really benefit for having the curse ring in the party right now. So I think these are sort of things that make these party differentials really interesting.
Yeah, definitely right now, Bursik running a little bit of a safer game. Groundflier going a little more high risk, high reward. I wouldn't be surprised if the reason he left that Porum in bed is to use her as a backup agility anchor, just in case one of his current agility anchors gets a little too speedy.
Yeah, I
but
imagine.
we're about to get some music. Yay!
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're dead on with that reason that he didn't take Porum there. This is one thing about mages. They don't have as much metallic equipment ready to them, so you often have to sit through the cutscene here.
Just to let people know, since we're on Randomania, and you may have not seen this randomizer before, normally in the vanilla game, Edward plays a fun little song in order to weaken the Dark Elf. Well, in this game, we've had several arrangers who are very talented make, I think, over 200 different remixes of video game music that Edward could possibly play on his harp. But I'm going to be quiet so you can hear what we have today.
It's time for DJ Spoony B's Rockin' Tunes.
we've gone through an entire loop of the music. Just finding the guards here, the pair of guards that knows all the white magic. They are, of course, vulnerable to stop. Groundflier throwing out those hourglasses, having no problem getting a life glitch off to get some extra XP, and we only get a Stardust Rod. I say only a Stardust Rod. It is the most powerful black magic weapon in the game, and you can use the Stardust spell if you use it as an item. But it is not progress forward, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're heading to that hook pretty soon.
I think it's only if you feel like you need a little bit more experience, you might go to Evelyn Castle. If you want to do a little bit more shopping around the Blue Planet, you can do that. But yeah, I think we're hook route bound. This was a really nice find for Groundflier, something that with the items that he had and the spells that Tella had access to, was able to take care of it without, because you saw how little damage that Leviathan summon was doing, only like 300 damage to each of them. That's how strong the magic defense is there. But being able to use weak, being able to use that hourglass, made it so that he was able to still manage what could have been a much more difficult fight there. And with it, both of our runners have completed objective number 1.
Yep, Groundflier, I know, is a very experienced runner and knows a lot of those little tricks you can do to make those fights faster. While we're grabbing our hovercrafts here, I just want to say that the music, if you didn't know, was Keys Marsh from Final Fantasy IX, and that one is a new one to me. I know we had several new songs added recently, and I do believe that's one of them, and I liked it.
I think that's an old one. I believe I've heard that one before, but it's still a great rendition of that tune.
But yeah, I hope you like Cave Eblan, because that's where we're going.
Yeah, we get a gated shop here. In this particular flag set, the gated shops, the ones that you need a key item to get access to, can have a higher tier of items, and we see it here. Coffins and Bacchuses. These are some of those items that are really useful, but you have to have gotten a key item in order to do it. In this case, the hook.
Yep, Groundflier carefully considering which items to sell in order to get a few of those really good, useful items.
And then BursikBadger putting that Stardust Rod on Palom. I wouldn't be surprised if Groundflier puts it on Rydia, because it'll boost the strength of that Leviathan summon, which is his bread and butter for damage dealing at this point. So, meanwhile, like Palom over on BursikBadger has been doing a chunk of the magical-based damage. He, of course, has Cecil with that defense sword for physical damage as well.
Yep, Bursik definitely having the more well-balanced team. Groundflier pretty much relying solely on that Leviathan.
Yeah, a little bit more of a glass cannon on Groundflier's side, because that Leviathan is probably stronger than anything BursikBadger could do, but a little bit more limited.
And we see a ninja lying on the floor right now, being guarded by another lunar sparkle. Edge is going to be nice to have here, more physical attack. He's really a great utility character too. His throw command can get you out of a pinch. That steal command can steal high tier items should you need them. I really like Edge just as a versatile character.
The kind of downside of Edge in this flag set is we've got the Neki flag on, and so he doesn't have, like, one of his great strengths in previous versions of Free Enterprise and previous events we've had is his great gear that he comes equipped with. But in this time, he just has a low-level weapon. Yeah, no, I think Bursik's going to have to check and see what he's got. Just one middle sword is not the same as 2 short swords, a bandana.
Sword. That's pretty good.
Yeah, he had the ninja sword, so that helps out a lot.
The nice thing is that samurai armor is sitting right past where we get Edge. So here's a ninja, here's his best armor. Very convenient.
And Bursik finally moving that. Wait, that's a crystal. That wasn't a crystal sword, was it? I don't think you can
This
get you can't get a
menu
crystal
is
short on a
so
shield like that.
fast. I actually, yeah, because we have level 7 turned off. So the only way you can get level 7 items right now is trap chests. Like, for example, this ogre or this mad ogre chest. A lot of runners hit this on the way to through the hook route. The hook route has two relatively difficult bosses for this part of the game. So getting a few extra levels from these mad ogres is a great idea. And also because they're a 4-pack, you can very easily do the life glitch on them. They're also vulnerable to that hourglass, as Bursik is showing off right now.
The hourglass, as well as the mute arrows, as you're seeing on Bursik's side, doing over 3,000 damage with Cecil with bow and arrow.
Yeah, Bursik's going to get some good experience here. And of course, this is a trap chest, so it has a possibility to give you one of those really powerful tier 7 weapons, including for Bursik, a crystal sword. Or we could get some, some Masamunes for our ninja would also be nice out of this chest.
I think those would be gravy. It's really these levels with these upcoming fights coming. Plus, getting Quake on Palom is huge. Crystal Ring is a nice piece of gear as well.
Yeah, that is a respectable pickup.
So we know we've got a Lunar Sparkle in the second spot, but we've already seen a few of them. We know it's not Ogopogo, and we know it's not D-Lunar. So it could be Plague. It can't be Wyvern either. It's got to either be Plague or Pale Dim, right?
Yep, and both of those are doable, especially if your Porum also knows Blink. Pale Dim only does physical attacks. Both Tella and Porum probably can cast Blink at this point. That's not too bad. Plague is a super fun boss who has at least 3 different ways to take him down. So
yeah, eminently cheesable is Plague. Pale Dim does have a Quake spell in its arsenal if you trigger the counter, but as long as you're not casting summons against Plague or against Pale Dim, you should be good.
I also believe Tella knows float, so if you really want to do that, just a quick float first.
That might not be bad if it ends up being Pale Dim for Groundflier, because as we've said, the bulk of his damage is coming through that Leviathan summon.
Let's see, Bursik getting equipped here, Groundflier just diving right in.
Bursik has been really using the changing of the weapons of Cecil to suit whatever battle he's in, being smart about that. But that does mean it's more time to equip and re-equip left and right. But it's been effective so far, as our runners are basically at the same point.
Yep, so we got just a Bahamut here. This shouldn't be too difficult at all. I know both our runners have a few Star Veils in the bank, so they can reflect that Mega Nuke. Both of their Tellas know Wall, so they should be just fine here.
Yeah, Groundflier having to take a reset was hoping that one cast of Leviathan would be enough to take out Bahamut, but not quite enough. So now it's going to have to do again. Maybe we'll be using those Star Veils this time around, but we see the re-equipping just try to get it better.
Yep. Now let's see which lunar boss we have here, because Bursik, no trouble with that Bahamut, is going to go do a quick save first. You don't have to heal in this spot because in the vanilla game, the honorable Rubicante would give you a full heal before you fought him, and that behavior has been preserved at this spot. So you don't have to heal, but a quick save, always a good idea. Pale Dim. So this is actually the harder of the two options, I think, because the physical attack here is pretty high. But the fact we have 2 Blink casters is going to do a lot of work here.
You can go all out on Pale Dim, especially from Bursik's side, because we've got access to those two blink casters going down is going to make it tough. Um,
The AI
but they,
knows. Yeah, Berserker setting out because both of his blink casters went down. Oh, the RNG, it knows. It knows.
yeah, board AI at work once again, and groundflier going back to make that safety save too. Like, I think that's a smart plan, especially when you don't know which boss it is with that lunar circle. Making the safety save just makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. But as far as hook routes go, this one is pretty doable, assuming you don't get the worst possible RNG like Bursik did.
I like Bursik moving Cecil to the back row here. We can do a little bit of covering if necessary, and that should help protect against those physical attacks from Pale Dim. So I like this move here.
Uh-oh. Ground Flyer doing the Leviathan. If it doesn't take it out, this Quake.
I believe it's any summon will
I
prompt
also believe that, but honestly, I haven't tested. Yeah, it is. That's going to be a problem. Not dead, but that. Yep. Okay, he's resetting out, remembering that Pale Dim does in fact counter summons, which is fine because if Tella has float, which he's checking, yep, he's gonna pre-float his characters. The one problem with that is I think the full heal that you get right before the fight might undo that, but it's not.
I think you're right too.
It's not too hard for Tella just to recast that float. Just make sure your characters have that float before you summon Leviathan.
And this is the sort of thing that makes this this fight a little bit difficult for Groundflyer because
and Artemis arrows might go. So Pale Dim, despite it looking like a snake, is in fact a dragon, and Artemis arrows do bonus damage against dragons. So that might also help out on this fight.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's still using Rydia as the glass cannon character here, but pretty heads up to say like this Leviathan is a little bit more of a liability for me here, but I still need to get through this. Ooh, I've got some other options that I might be able to do. And here comes the warrior princess Rydia.
Yep, meanwhile, Bursik just doing the slow and steady, keeping those blinks up, healing up when needed. Cecil's covering his squishier characters. So it's going to be a bit slower of a fight, but he's definitely going to get through this.
Once again, both of our runners making very different strategies with their party because of what they've been able to find so far, but both coming up with pretty effective strategies of dealing with the Pale Dim as well. As you see that Artie Arrow and Hurricane Robe combo doing real work for Groundflier here.
Yeah, BursikBadger's definitely been more slow and steady. Good diversity, take it safe. Groundflier has been more just all-out blitz, but they're really close. So it's been very similar seeds. They're basically tied right now.
And that's one of the things. This seed has kind of been pretty linear with what you have to do, forcing our runners down the same path at the same time. But you still have divergence of the strategies, and I think that's what makes this really fun to watch.
Yep, wow. That Berserk Rydia putting out 3,000 to 5,000 damage per arrow. Yep, and Groundflier is through.
Yeah, that just shows that when you know your weaknesses and you know what's in your inventory, and really both runners have been doing this so far. We've seen the switching of the equipment with Cecil on BursikBadger's side, but knowing what's in your arsenal and adjusting it to fit the foe that you're fighting, your fights go a lot more effectively.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting to see what both our runners do now. There's a lot of things you can do in the underground. There's Dwarf Castle. You can check on your free unguarded key item in the Feymarsh. If you're feeling frisky, you can go visit Yang and then report back to his wife for a key item check. Looks
We
like
also have the
Burst.
two.
Go ahead.
We also have the two bosses at the bottom of the Feymarch that could give potential key items. We also were given the Luca key for completing the Fabul defense, so that's available to us. Really, the only thing that's not open to us in the underground right now is the Tower Key Super Cannon room. Other than that, the underworld's our oyster.
Yep, yep. And Bursic heading right into the Dwarven Castle. Gonna take care of King Gaiet's problems, which happened to be a Mylon today. Do dwarves like oysters? That is a good question, Nyobari. I don't know. Are there underground oysters? Are there lava oysters? I feel like the Final Fantasy IV world could have lava oysters.
I imagine there are lava oysters.
We're seeing just a regular Mylon. I don't foresee too much trouble here. We got a Cecil, we got mages, we got all sorts of fire weaknesses we can exploit.
Groundflier doing some looting in this Feymarch cave and finding some really good equipment, finding another Stardust Rod for his other black magic user, and a tiara, which is probably one of the best things that you can find for Rydia.
Yeah, I always love to find that, especially the way he's been utilizing Rydia.
Yeah, put a Stardust Rod and a tiara on Rydia, and that Leviathan's going to do mega damage.
Uh-oh, too many items. Inventory management time. Why can't I hold all these things?
It is quite rude, isn't it?
It does make you appreciate the modern day unlimited inventories.
Black robe as well. Nice.
And Bursic finding a cane for our objective, yay, and is going to face off against a Yang, which we have a Paladin Cecil, and one of Yang's boss scripts is after he does a few attacks, if Paladin Cecil bops him lightly, he will just say ouch and give up. But honestly, this spot has so little HP, we might not even get to see that script.
It was really interesting, Bursic thinking about that cane for a while. Do I want to ditch Porum or possibly Tella? Tella's a pretty good option for an agility anchor. Porum can cast the Berserk spell for the final fight. Callum's been doing a lot of damage. There's not a lot of things that you want to ditch for that cane right now, and makes the decision to not take the Dragoon onto his team.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen the best spears either. Correct me if I'm wrong, but then again, we do have defense sword right now. But
we have the defense sword, but yeah, we don't have another option for Cecil. And I saw Groundflier found a Gugner spear here in the Feymarch, but Bursic didn't loot that, so didn't have access to that either. So I think Groundflier is much more likely to keep Caden because he could use that. I think he found that same defense sword. He might not have, but Groundflier did find the rat tail in the vanilla rat tail chest, and BursikBadger just got the Baron key.
Yep, Baron key opens up 3 more checks. We have all our characters, so we actually don't need character checks anymore. So it opens up 2 key item checks, one on the false throne, one on the true throne. It's also another spot you can get a character, but we found Cain, so we don't necessarily need another character. Bursic picking up the Excalibur Light, the light sword. It's not as good as the Excalibur, but it does have that holy element. So it does do extra damage against bosses that are weak to holy. And I hope Groundflier gives us a little peek at the bosses down here.
Groundflier is thinking that he might even have a chance because he's tenting up before going anywhere else. So I think if there's a fight that he wants to take, he's ready to take it.
Yeah, I often just tent there anyway because the lava does all the damage when you're walking through here. and you're probably not going to walk back through the lava out. So I actually tent there sometimes, even if I'm not going to take the fight. But this is either Gauntlet or Water Hag. And it is Water Hag, so this is doable. Water Hag's going to hit hard here, but if you're fast enough, you can get off those 3 attacks you need to trigger its script and make it go arg and disappear.
Yeah, that's got to be a relief. One that's really easily done for Groundflier. It will probably knock out some of his characters before then, but as long as you can hit it 3 times, then you're good to go.
Oh, I didn't see if Bursik validated the seed there because I was distracted by Water Hag.
I don't think he did. I think he was like doing his best to not talk to it. Is what it looked like.
That's going to be great levels too. That's a pretty high experience spot. And a light sword.
Oh, and Bursik just spent all that money.
I know. Well, I'm pretty sure that's one Edge can throw, so.
And that's really nice too. I mean, if you're going to go with money efficiency, you probably want to be buying drain spears for something for Edge to throw. But you know, you take what you got, right?
Yep. That is randomizers. You got to work with what you're given.
And naturally, Groundflier does not want any part of that Baigen at the Leviathan spot. That is one of the scariest places you could possibly find Baigen.
Oh yeah. I've had to do that as a required boss before, and it's possible, but it is in no way fun.
Groundflier has access to that Leviathan, which really helps the crowd control the arms, but still, there's a lot of HP, a lot of speed, and a lot of physical power there.
The one thing that's nice though is you do get experience for each arm you take out, and so if you're taking out a bunch of arms with trying to get what I call it armless lock, where you wait for the arms to regenerate and then immediately take them out with another quake or summon, you can get a lot of experience that way.
BursikBadger wanted to check to see which blue robe that was. Finds out it was, in fact, the Water Hag, and now wants to heal up before doing this again. And then I imagine we'll take on that Water Hag and probably be sad that he just spent money on that light sword, which he's going to get another copy of.
Yeah, probably. Now, what I'm interested to see is if Groundflier takes this Kane, because he has a little bit better equipment for Kane.
Yeah. I imagine Groundflier will take it, yeah.
And that could be a big divergence here.
And while our runners are doing basically what each other has just done, I just want to take a moment to thank the Restream team tonight. We do have Neobari on the Restream, and Cubs Rule is doing the tracking. Big shout outs to them, because without them, we do not have a show. I also want to give a thank you to everybody over at the Randomania Network. They've been great partners for us for many events and continue that partnership right now. And it's really great to be here on the Randomania Network for the LaliHo League.
I'd also like to take this time to remind you there is one more race for week 2 of the LaliHo League Swiss rounds. That's going to take place today at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be Starman versus Zilch. That is going to be over on RPG Limit Break. And I'd also like to thank them for letting us use their channels. We had over 100 entrants to the LaliHo League. And it is too many matches to stream on just one channel. So we really appreciate our streaming partners.
BursikBadger has defeated that Water Hag, and now the question is, where to next?
That is a good question. We have actually a lot of places open to us. Of course, if you were really confident, you could maybe start on the moon. We do have the entire moon open to us. It looks like BursikBadger gonna go say hi to Jan and most likely report back to Sheila shortly thereafter.
And I really like this play because this will bring you back up to the blue planet, get a free check there without having to fight anything. Then you can go directly to the rat tail check and see if that is anything, because we're really just one key item away from go mode. If either of them yield the pink tail, then we've got go mode, and we've already got the darkness crystal, so we've got an access to Zeromus. All you have to do is grind to go.
Yeah, that is really true, because we got the hook a while back.
Yeah, that's how we got underground. So
Yep, and for that objective 3, all you need is a hook and a pink tail. And a silly man who really, really wants that pink tail. Yep.
Also got to make that swap over to the yellow airship.
Yeah, the Falcon, as cool as it looks with its giant drill, doesn't have a hook. It cannot pick up hovercrafts. Just a Dragoon Spear, which is going to be great. Groundflier did choose to keep that cane, so that'll be nice for that cane, but not progress. Let's see what Sheila has for us.
Well, it looks like as of right now, Groundflier is keeping that cane knocked out, might be thinking about using base level cane as his anchor. So keeping options open is what Groundflier is doing right now, it looks like.
Yeah, that's been his strategy for most of the seed, honestly.
Yeah, it seems that way. And whatever Sheila gives might determine where Bursik goes next as well. We also have that Baron check open for us right now. So that might be where he goes anyway. Just a silver apple?
Yep, delicious and tasty will increase your max HP, but it is not getting us into go mode. I guess an apple a day keeps the key items away. Yeah, so there are a lot of options right now. Looks like Bursik might be going to check out that Baron key. Like I said earlier, there are 2 key item checks here.
Yeah, the first one is definitely within the realms of doable. The second one, depending on who the boss is, could be doable at this level as well.
Yeah, it really depends. The throne in the basement is a spot that is really fast. So if you have a boss that is fast and punchy, you might not be able to do it now. If you have a more magic-oriented boss, it could be doable. Let's see if he picks up. I always, and sometimes to my disadvantage, pick up these 3 treasure chests. Nope. Noping right out of those. Those are my favorite 3 treasure chests in the whole game.
I got a lucky chest in Cave Magnus, so...
On the other hand, Bursik's equipment is actually pretty solid right now.
Yeah, Bursik has got basically everything that he needs as far as equipment to complete the seed. The question is, for the items, we've seen, I think, the majority, if not all of the gated shops. I don't remember seeing sirens in any of the shops. Did you see any there, KNH?
I'm thinking. I don't think we did. I wasn't paying very close attention when Bursik went into the Dwarven town. But I don't think we've seen sirens. We do have a Luca key, so walls are always a grind option. The D-Lunar, or not D-Lunar, the D-Machine grind is definitely a lot scarier with that vanilla giant flag on. But we do have Ella, so it could be done.
That is an option, but we also have Edge. So we could steal sirens from the alerts in the tower if we wanted to as well. So That option would be available to us. It is a bit a slow way to acquire sirens. If you're doing that, you're probably going to want to just grab a few of them so you can grind on gold dragons or warlocks in the lunar subterrane and not have to use as many sirens to complete your grind.
And we got Vivalis here, but Bursik's actually pretty leveled up, so this shouldn't be too bad. I feel like Defense Sword Cecil should be able to take this out. Edge's throws are 100% accurate, so if I ever come up against a tricky Valvalis with Edge, I'll just start throwing the entire inventory at her.
Yeah, that is a cheeky way to get around the spin, but at this point, no problem hitting her at this right now, so shouldn't be any problem to defeat this boss for Bursik. Groundflier now going through those same checks that we just saw Bursik make, gets that Dragoon Spear. He does have a cane, though, so he's got someone who could use it if he wants. That does make Gold Dragon grinding a lot easier.
Oh, yeah, it really does. Bursik getting through that Valvalis, no problem. Is going to see a character. It'll be interesting to see who that is. And is going to see a key item, possibly.
It's going to be tough to change characters here. I mean, I could imagine taking Fu as the upgraded Tela, but
I don't think
another
we're going to
Porum.
do another Porum. No, one Porum is enough, thank you.
Now, I would have possibly seen upgrading a Porum to a Rosa. Porum generally has better upside in the early part of the game, and Rosa generally has better upside in the later part of the game. But at this point, you'd rather have the high HP pool of Rosa, I would think.
Yep, and we do have the XP slingshot turned off. In other flag sets of this game, if your character is much lower levels than the rest of your party, they will get a XP bonus. But that is turned off for the entirety of this tournament.
The reason why both the D Machine grind and Rydia as a character have not been as popular in this event, in addition to the fact that we've got Vanilla Giant on and you have to complete the Giant if you go with the Giant. That Pan is a nice pickup, though.
Yeah, I would not be surprised if we go down and visit Young again immediately.
It's one of those things when you're one key item away from getting the go mode to do the free things really fast, because if either of those checks turns out to be the pigtail, you're good to go. But Bursik was already in the neighborhood, so wants to make a save and just check and see if this boss is doing. I think this makes sense as well. Personally, I probably would have gone to the free checks first, but I can't fault this line of play either.
Yeah, there's definitely good logic in it. I'm a team always check your freebies, but if this is a quick boss, which it is, one good Quake from Palom should take out all these dolls. This spot is fast, but it doesn't have the hugest amount of HP. And when you take that smaller, relatively HP pool and divide it among 6 different enemies, 1 to 2 good spells should take this out.
Also, the fact that you're using the hourglass, and the hourglass works on the blue dolls, not the red dolls, but that'll just make it so that the blue dolls do not turn into the big doll, which is what you really want to avoid in this fight.
Which I still find kind of terrifying, but I'm also just generally afraid of dolls.
Quake does the job, gets rid of the dolls, and we get our key item check.
Well, it's a nice item. That's probably going to go on Cecil, maybe Edge. Either one is viable there. But it is not the pink tail we are looking for. We also could still win with the Legend Sword and the Animate, but just statistically, we're likely to hit the pink tail first. But, random. You're not going to believe this, but randomizers are random. And it's entirely possible we'll find 2 key items before we find one specific key item.
And it is also one of those things that if that Zeus gauntlet had been something a little bit less useful, it might have just been worth it to reset after getting that. But you're going to walk out when you get a Zeus gauntlet, and you've got two characters that are swinging swords to deal damage. So it's
Yeah,
worth the walkout.
that gauntlet significantly increases your strength, which in turn increases the amount of damage you can do with physical attacks. Ground Flyer following Bursik into Baron Castle here. And Bursik, of course, going to check up on that pan. We'll get 2 key items checks for that. Immediately after we bonk Yang, these sylphs will give us a item of some sort. We're hoping for a pink tail. And also, if we return the pan to Sheila, she will give us another. A magma key.
Of course, yeah. Ground Flyer is changing up his anchoring strategy. Now he's equipped up Kane. Kane is into the fight, and looks like he's going to be rocking Tella as the anchor, at least for now. We know that Ground Flyer has been a bit variable with what he wants to do with the party, so this is his plan for now. We'll see if it changes, because he's got options. He's still got that Porum available for him in Kaipo if he wants.
Yep, and I wouldn't be surprised if getting that Dragoon Spear played a large part into that decision.
Agree.
Okay, let's see what Sheila gives us in exchange for a slightly dented pan.
Does she have the goods?
No, just a white spear. Which yeah, that's a throwable for Edge, because Bursik didn't take that cane. And in case you're aware, we do have the C buy flag on. So any characters you dismiss from your party, they are poof, gone forever.
Wow, that is a lot of good spears that Bursik has found since ditching Kane. That's always the way it is, isn't it?
It is, but the consolation prize is Bursik's probably not even going to berserk Edge in the Zeromus fight for several rounds. Probably just going to have him chuck those spears directly into Zeromus's face.
Well, he did just reset out of that white spear, so we won't have that one. But it looks like he's getting set up. Yeah, here comes the alert fight. We are going to be going on some stealing things, and we get to see Porum cry.
Yep. It was recently discovered by the broader Final Fantasy IV community that Porum's cry has the effect of increasing Edge's steal chance. No one's sure why this is, whether it was intentional or a glitch, but hey, it works. If I had to guess, it was probably something left over from development.
Prize has really gotten to the point where we're learning a lot about the vanilla game that we did not know.
Yeah. Just taking just a smattering, a pinch, if you will, of sirens from that alert.
Yeah, BursikBadger now at 10 key items, so every fight is going to yield double experience from here on out. And if we're going to do something like Warlocks or Gold Dragons, they give a ton of experience to start with, and if you double that, it's a real efficient method of getting to the point where you're at endgame levels. Plus, at this point, you don't know how many more bosses you're going to take. If you're going to end up fighting bosses on the moon, they're a huge source of experience as well.
Yep, Ground Flyer now going in to turn in that pan. Overall, this has been a very close race. It's been very fun to watch.
Yeah, as of late, BursikBadger has been a little bit ahead of Ground Flyer, but this is one of those things where one decision in routing could make all the difference. Plus, one kind of mess up in any fight could turn the tide the other way as well. It is very close right now.
Ooh, and BursikBadger going into the top of the tower fight without hitting the save room. I know that that's a time-saving play most of the time, but It always makes me a little nervous.
He
But
did
a vanilla,
Dr. Luge, I presume.
yes. And this shouldn't be too bad at all. I foresee no problems here.
No, it's one of the easier boss fights in the game at most spots, including its vanilla spot. Um, but Bursik did make a save at the halfway tower point, not the last one, but he did make a save in the tower. So
Okay, that makes me less nervous.
yeah, this Berserk Cecil is going to do a lot of work in this fight. That's for sure.
Yep. Ground Flyer getting the bad news that the pan it has no value other than a little bit of an upgrade for Kane.
Now the question note: I don't think Ground Flyer checked the.
Yeah, reset out of that white spear. And it looks like Ground Flyer also choosing not to go to the moon. We'll see if he's here just to steal sirens, but that tent to me would indicate that it's likely he's also going to come up here. So possibly both of our runners doing this keyless tower. On the one hand, I understand because if you don't do keyless tower before you go to the moon, it always just kind of nibbles at the back of your mind. Uh-oh, what if it was in the top of the tower? But also the moon is the higher percentage play with 5, 6 possible key items sitting there.
Yeah, it's a tough choice. You're getting to the point where you think that it's going to be more likely that you're going to need to go to the giant or the moon than not. But the other thing is, as you said, things like keyless tower, if you don't check it now, it's just going to eat at the back of you until you do check it. The other one that's like that right now for both of our runners has got to be the Luca Key, the Seal Cave check, because that one's another one that's out there. Well, we're going to see if this keyless tower pays off in Berserk real shortly here.
It's a spoon. Great throwable for Edge, but Berserk's saying, nah. I don't need a spoon. I got 10 key items. I already got a bunch of throwables for Edge. We're just gonna get out of here. The other check besides Luca we have left is we do still have that Baigen in Feymarsh, but being that is a slug of a fight no matter how you do it, I wouldn't be surprised if our runners left that till after the moon.
Yeah, that's okay, nothing. That one won't eat at me. I'll be like, if my opponent beats that and that is go mode, then I guess I take the loss because I don't want to fight that.
Berserk committed to the earth here though, not going to the moon. Gonna check this Luca run. The miss menu. How many times have you gone to use the Luca key and selected the wrong thing? I know I do that all the time.
Like anytime that sub menu pops up, it does.
Let's try to climb the correct ropes and not climb the ropes that go to nowhere.
Thanks for the raid, Free Enterprise. Please don't give any spoilers about your race. You're joining in now as BursikBadger is fighting groundflier, and we've got a really close race here. Bursik just a little bit ahead as long as they continue going the same path.
Yep, groundflyer's been playing a little bit more aggressively. Bursik's been taking it a little bit safer, but both runners are roughly in the same spot. It is still anyone's game.
At this point, if we find the pink tail, we are in go mode. We still need both halves of the Excalibur in order to complete that one.
But let's see if this Luca Cave item is anything that is useful to us.
One of the nice things about Sealed Cave is you see the item before having to fight the boss, so you can reset out if it's not useful.
Yep, and all our boss hunts are done, and it is a pink tail. That is go mode for BursikBadger at 1 hour and 23 minutes into the seed. Of course, we have to beat up this boss and warp out of the cave. But he has those sirens that he used Edge to steal, and just some dark imps. That's easy peasy.
Yeah, you've got the coffins almost specifically for this fight.
Yep, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little life glitching here. Maybe get... This isn't the highest experience spot, though, so maybe not. Nope, Tella's doing some life glitching. Pick up a little bit of extra experience. Because at this point, all Bursik needs to beat the seed is enough levels to take on Zeromus.
Exactly, and so getting a little bit more experience at this point makes a lot of sense. If Bursik does want to use this Tella as an anchor, he doesn't even need to worry about it because there's another Tella waiting on the moon, because I believe Bursik reset out of that check, and so can take a fresh low level or base level Tella as the anchor if that's his choice.
Yeah, and he has to go through that cutscene anyway, right? Because he doesn't have a pass. So you might as well just swap out your speedy Tella for a much less speedy Tella. Now, the real question here is groundflier gonna do the Luca cave before going to the moon? If groundflier also commits to completing the Earth, we still have a race on our hands. If he goes to the moon, it is much more dicey for him. That is for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt, that would be really tough for groundflier to come back on, even if he finds both halves of the Excalibur really quickly on the moon. It would be a lot. He'd be quite a bit behind where Bursik is right now.
Yeah, because he'd have to go to the moon, get 2 key items, come back to the Earth to forge those items together, and then still walk the entire way down the basement.
Now, the big challenge here on Bursik's side is actually remembering to turn in the big tail.
That is the current boss is remember to turn. And I saw a little.
Yeah,
yeah, there he goes. He was heading the wrong way, but realized and turned around. Oh no!
I can't tell you how many times I've made that mistake.
That was just a misclick there.
I've done that a lot of times too.
There we go. Now we have a crystal. All Bursik needs to do is perhaps level up a little bit, walk through the lunar subterrane, beat a Zeromus, and it will be game over for... Oh, no, I spoke too soon. Groundflyers, it's still a race. Groundflyer's going for it. Also, Masamune, nice.
Yeah, that Edge is getting very strong now. Masamune Ninja Sword is a very, very good combo of weapons for Edge, and man, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be how much do they need to grind, how much do they want to grind. Getting Porum up to levels where Big Bangs is survivable is tough. She does not get very good HP growth. And what's Groundflier going to do? Still, like, the Leviathan Rydia has been one of Groundflyer's main sources of damage, and summons are generally not viable against Zeromus. So, going to be interesting to see what Groundflier plans to do against the Zeromus fight, and he's going to have to make those decisions really soon because he's going to get that pink tail at the bottom of this cave.
Yeah, this is still anyone's race right now. It's still super, super close. Moon's haunted, by the way. I just wanted to mention that. Well, no, it could have had both the Legend Sword and the Animate, but this path much, much faster. Moon not required. How about I put it that way?
I think that's fair.
I think to be haunted, it must be completely devoid of any progression. He's grabbing, Bursik grabbing some hourglasses. That indicates a golden dragon grind to me.
That would be my guess.
He does still have a sprinkling of sirens in his inventory from when he stole off the alerts.
And with the 10 key items, the double experience, if you're able to get the life glitch off on the double gold dragon fight, that's 180,000 experience per fight. So that is a good rate of return per siren.
Smartly putting those apples onto Porum. As we mentioned, her HP growth is terrible, so getting a little bit of a head start on it, great way to go.
Absolutely. Like I usually, if I want to have my white mage survive a big bang, I'd like to have the white mage at least 1800 HP. And that's a stretch for Porum. Any help that you can get with apples is really nice.
And it looks like that Tella was actually from the moon, because Bursik did not have to sit through that cutscene.
Oh, I thought, maybe groundflier was the one who reset. No, because I thought, I might be getting my early game mixed up now. Which way is which?
That's fine. So agility might, let's see, how bad? 12. 12 is workable. It's not great, but it is definitely workable. But Bursik was thinking the exact same thing because I went in there and checked Cello's agility.
Yeah, that 12 is a little bit ugly. I think it's going to be tough to get characters to be relative agility 1, but it's not a horrible number for Zeramus. Like, it's better than like Usia's base 20, but
yeah, like it's not horrible. I like seeing Tella around 9 or 10. But yeah, 12 is perfectly workable. You just got to be a little more cautious. That's all.
And if you're going to be going like a berserker route, then you're probably going to be fine anyways. And I imagine that's what Bursik is planning on doing with Edge and Cecil.
Yeah,
he might do some darting depending on what weapons he still has in his inventory, but he's got Ninja Mazamune. That's a good berserking ninja.
Yep. Speaking of which, groundflier picking up his crystal, picking up his Masamune. We'll be looking for a grind shortly. So both are runners in go mode. Just looking for a little bit of levels to take on Zeromus. They're going to be in this Zeromus fight. Bursik definitely has the advantage right now. Is a little bit ahead and a little bit more prepared for this grind because he went and got those sirens, went and got those hourglasses. Groundflier hasn't done that yet. But it's going to be pretty close. If Bursik makes any mistakes on the Zeromus fight and takes a wipe, then it's going to be, it's basically going to be tied. So we will see.
Very close, very exciting race. It's a really interesting race in that the routing, as far as the places that the runners went to, was very similar. But the way that they did it, the party configuration, and where they decided to loot really pointed them in a tactic for how they were going to do damage. Like that Cecil versus the Rydia has been the real big difference in how they were getting the fights done.
Yeah, that's true. Groundflier never checked that package, so never got that Cecil. It's not going to be as huge of a disadvantage as other seeds I've seen because Cecil doesn't have an Excalibur or a Crystal Sword. I believe he is still rocking that Defense Sword. But it's still going to be an advantage. Groundflier giving his apples to the Rydia.
Yeah, that makes me think that Groundflier is intending to grind Rydia up to the point where she learns Nuke.
That is entirely possible. He also picked up a few hourglasses, so that also indicates dragons. But if he's getting that Rydia to Nuke, he's going to have to do more dragons than Bursik is.
Yeah, that is the downside. Rydia's both her HP growth and her experience growth are pretty poor. But she's very strong when she learns Nuke. Like, that Nuke is going to do a lot of damage, especially with the Stardust Rod and the Tiara, the black robes that were all available. Like, we've got good gear.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. But both of our players are just going into a grind loop right now, so this is probably a good time to redo the announcements for everyone who came in from that raid. I would like to let you know that there is, in fact, one more race today. It will be happening over on RPG Limit Break at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and that's going to be Starman versus Zilch. And I do believe that's going to be the last race for week 2, so please go check that out if you want some more free Enterprise action. I'd also like to thank everyone on the restream today. Thanks for Cubs Rule for pushing all the buttons, making the lights light up. We have Neo Bari on restream who took over. We had one person, our original restreamer, had to move around their schedule because of some personal situations. So thank you for taking over on such short notice. And of course, Rexroll, my co-commentator, you're great. Be sure also to follow our runners. I've seen both Bursik and Groundflier stream before, and they are super fun watches. So yeah, check everybody out.
It's always fun to call a race with you, KNH.
Well, thank you. I like commentating with you too. But it does look like Bursik might be done here, being that he's going with a more melee-heavy party. That's not too surprising. Doesn't have to get those nuke spells. I think
yeah, it must be very cool. I think so too. Going to that last save point. Let me see. We're going to get the menu where we're at with Porum, because that could be interesting.
Yeah, that is the scary part. He's giving Porum all of the good equipment. Let's see. His menuing's so fast I can't even see.
I know, I'm trying to focus at the part of the screen, but like my eyes don't adjust. 1800.
1800. Now keep in mind that those there was a couple of apples in there, so her magic defense is going to be slightly lower than that HP total would indicate. That is borderline, but it's a race. You got to get going.
It's really, this is why you use something like the Tiara in this situation. It might not be the one that's best for her white magic stat, but it does give the best magic defense of all the things that she could be equipped with there. So anything to increase her survivability, it looks like that's what the priority is for BursikBadger here. And that makes sense, because once the Edge and Cecil are berserked up, all you really need to do after that is keep everybody else, or try to keep them alive and recover from the heavy damage from big bangs.
So we're on the Randomania channel, so there might be a few people in chat who haven't seen this final boss fight before. Would you like to explain the surprise we're about to see?
Zeramis might be too big and too bad to go to any other boss spot in the game. It's an appropriate final boss, but we still need to get some sort of randomization in it. So we see a random sprite every time Zeramis gets transformed into the defeatable form. And we've got to ask a question. Why don't you ask a KNH?
Whose butt are we going to kick tonight? There's exactly 526 different possibilities. So let's see who we get today.
Absolutely. It is bud time. Once this crystal is used, we will reveal the true form. Now, Zeramis is going to have the same script as the vanilla game, same nasty big bangs that come out, but yeah, it's going to look funny.
What is that? J-Lomus. Oh my. Oh my. Oh dear. That's all I have to say. Oh, we're gonna get TOS'd for this one.
Anyway, It looks like Bursik is going to take the opportunity to do a little bit of darting at the top of the fight. I think this makes sense while you're waiting for the Berserks to get all situated. Might as well use that time to dart some of the weapons. You get a little bit of extra damage with that than you would with a normal fight command.
Oh, this Big Bang coming out fast. It should be nerfed. But Edge is down. It looks like Pora might not... Yeah, oh, geez. This is not a good start. Let's put it that way. It's not unrecoverable, but it is not a great start. Cecil is pumping out the damage, though, so that is the one good thing.
And one of the nice things is Tella survived the Big Bang, so able to do a little bit of recovery with him as well. So it's not just the end.
I'm sorry, I'm just baffled by this sprite. Wow, that's a lot of detail.
It looks like going with a bit of a hybrid strategy. We see the physical damage being done by Cecil and Edge, and we're also seeing some reflected nukes from Hallam there. So that's just a way to kind of concentrate and do as much damage as quickly. You're not... Oftentimes with a hybrid strategy like this, you're not aiming to do something like skip an HP refill like you might do on a full reflect strategy, but it's still that supplemental damage that you're doing with the nukes does end up making the fight go faster than it would be if you're just zerking up.
Yep, and Bursik got rid of all those good throwables for Edge, so Edge now drinking some Bacchus wine. And is gonna start slashing with that Masamune. Meanwhile, groundflier looks like he's going into his Zeromus fight as well. I always love a race where we see both runners in the Zeromus fight at the same time. That's how you know it's a good race.
And Porum able to weather that second Big Bang, which was an unnerfed Big Bang. The combination of using those apples and the high quality defensive equipment, then she was able to survive at 220 HP, and that's about 200 more than she absolutely needed. So very nicely done, and going to be able to get the Cure 4 off and be able to recover from that, and looks like we're in pretty good shape right now as far as BursikBadger Zero's fight.
Yeah, going through, it's definitely been a little bit borderline, but Bursik's been handling this fight extremely well.
It's been like a lot of the fights that he's been doing, knowing exactly what he's got available to him to make it so that he's got the best shot of winning with every fight. He's been playing a very solid game the whole way, and this just continues with that.
Both of these runners should be proud, though, because this was a good race. It was very close.
There were some really challenging fights that they had to do early. Or remember, like that Dark Knight Cecil into Keinatsu at the Baron Inn for one.
And there we go. J. Lomas is defeated. The world is saved. And BursikBadger wins with an official race bot time of 1 hour, 41 minutes, and 53 seconds. And if I heard that Discord plink correctly, it looks like Bursik is joining us now. Congratulations on your win. What did you think of that seed?
Thank you. That is my first practice that I haven't... Well, I mean, none of my practice I was without Siren, and I'm glad there was Edge. Although... You know, like a D-Machine was on the table, but last resort, kind of. Yeah, I some stuff I really questioned, especially after hearing kind of what groundflier said in the race channel after we were both done. You know, I didn't go through Cape Bahamut on the moon after I was up there, and but I did do package. I don't know if he did or not, but.
He did not do package, and that Cecil was definitely an advantage for you. Even though you didn't find a crystal or Excalibur, that defense sword even did a lot of work.
Oh yeah, Yeah, and I was unsurprised that it started throwing alternatives after I ditched Kane.
Yeah, of
'Cause,
course.
like immediately finding, oh, lightsabers for sale. Oh, here's a lightsaber. Oh, here's a Dragoon Spear. Like, I get it. Like, I should have taken it. Thanks.
Yeah, how disappointing was it? We noticed you bought that light sword and then immediately
Oh, I
got a
didn't.
light sword.
I didn't. I was hovering over it, but I'm still like, I haven't checked all the shops. I might need to buy sirens. I was heavily considering it.
Okay, I thought you did. So how happy were you
With
with
the win overall, or
I was gonna say with the light sword, but I don't know.
I ended
that
up throwing
was
it.
straightforward. Do you have any questions, Rexrel?
I think you went through most of what I wanted to talk about, which was the routing, the Cecil, and everything like that. We saw you taking a little bit of time deciding whether or not to take Kane. I thought that was an interesting choice where you were at, because you had the Edge and the Cecil already.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you saw Kane in the Dwarf Castle?
I mean, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get to nuke. I knew I was gonna have to do some grinding to get Porum to a safe place, but I'm like, I was still looking for the pink tail at that point. I think that was the only thing or both halves of Forge. And I'm like, the kid could still be really useful, but for the Z fight, Kane might be better. And it's just like, no, it's not worth it. Because I had like Masamune middle at the time, or no, ninja middle and the defense sword. And no, they can carry it. Forget Kane. Just go.
Yep, and groundflier finishing off Zeromus with an official race bot time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 39 seconds. So GG to groundflier. Super close race, just within a few minutes of each other. That was a really fun watch. And it looks like we're joined by groundflier. GG, what did you think of that seed?
Oh, thank you. I don't know. I don't really know how to quantify what I thought of that seed. It was interesting. They certainly didn't want me to be able to hit stuff early on, but thankfully, I feel like my entire race must have been just completely different than Bursik's, because I did a moon check and I went into Cave Bahamut and did a couple of eyeball checks on some chests and found those. I think I found a stack of Arty arrows and I found Leviathan, and that honestly got me through basically the whole overworld, which was it was super surprising. Like I don't think I'd seen anything like that. It's very rare. I actually have a Rydia seed, so it was just interesting how things kind of got put together. But I also feel like maybe I got a little lucky because I stuck around on Earth a little longer than I might have otherwise done, because I could have gone and full cleared the moon, and obviously that would have taken longer. But that last spot I checked, I was just gonna go to the moon after checking Luca, and that was pay dirt. So I got a little lucky on that too.
Both of you actually took very similar routes as far as key item checks went, but you both had completely different party compositions and basically battle strategies. So it was a really interesting race to watch. Neither of you end up going to the moon, which was probably good. We were happy that both of you went to Luca. We were afraid groundflier was going to go to the moon before Luca, but you ended up actually taking pretty similar routes.
Finding dark imps there, because Luca was pretty early. It was like Fabul or something, and then finding out, oh, if you had hourglasses from the moon already, like that was free. I could have done that a long time ago.
Those hourglasses, they made a lot of things a lot easier in that seed, because there were a lot of places throwing those down, like going into hook route. It was super easy just taking out a couple of those ogres. I might not have even needed to do it, but they just made things a lot easier. And then obviously, there were a couple of big bosses we had to take out that we could use those on, and that saved the day a bunch.
Yeah, I did the moon too, but after you're like 5 minutes in, I'm like, there's 4 chests in Cave Bahamut. No, I'm just going. And so I didn't have that Leviathan carry, so I took the Cecil at package.
Oh, I never checked package.
That's how we were totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I thought about it. Like it was between that and going to check dwarf. I almost did that first, I don't know if I would have taken
Gotcha.
that Cecil at that point. I might have skipped it because I didn't have anything good for him. I did eventually find like a light sword. I forget where I even got that, but that's all I ever found for him. So
yeah, the light sword from the fight in the Fey March against the Water Hag. But at the time that Bursik saw the Cecil, he already had the defense sword in his inventory, and I think you might have missed that one.
Yeah, I never got that one. Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it's like you might have not taken it at that point because you don't really have anything to use it with, where it made a lot of sense for Bursik. But you had, and that was the big difference. We have Cecil with the defense sword on one side, we got Rydia with the Leviathan on the other, and it's like different bosses are going to have different weaknesses based on what you have, and it was really fun to see, especially since most of the boss fights were almost simultaneous, and so it was really exciting to see a lot of those different strategies for tackling these bosses at the same time. So that was what was the most fun to watch for me on this race.
That's super rad. I'm glad that we put on a really cool show. That was what I was hoping for. I saw Bursik win first, and obviously it's a little disheartening, but at the same time I'm like, yeah, like I'm going into Z right now. This is a great race. This is awesome. So it's exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very curious how your Z fight went. I actually got really surprisingly lucky and did not expect this at all, but both Rydia and Palom got nuke on my last Siren at the very end. And I was able to actually reflect strat through Z. I was originally going to have, I was like, I have an Ashura on Rydia. I don't have another healer. Like I'm just going to have to do Ashura strats and like nerf big bangs, and it's going to be really gross. And I have a Masamune edge, and I'm just going to survive with that. But then I got 2 nukes, and I'm like, oh, never mind. And it ended up being like a 3.5 minute fight. So it was pretty fast.
No, I was hybrid because I had Cecil and Edge would have been enough for me. But yeah, the same thing happened. My last Siren gave him nuke. So fine. I have 1 star Vel left. I'm going to bounce those. And I think I just barely missed him, J-Lo.
Oh yeah,
throwing out a black hole.
Well, do either of you have any final thoughts about today's race or the event so far?
I mean, it's been a blast. I've been having fun. I have an elimination race next week, so I got to be on top of my game. So I need to do some practice this week, and I'm sure I'm going to have a tough opponent because we're both going to be playing elimination matches. So it's going to be all on the line. But yeah, I honestly, I just feel like, I love 3-Mason, but I feel like the flag set for this has been like more interesting to me, and like the seeds have been more interesting. Like it's not just this frenetic, like, objective grab and Z in like 10 seconds. Like I feel like everything is a lot more thoughtful, and you really have to put some effort into everything, and kind of, you end up clearing a lot more of the seed. But I think that's more entertaining for everybody watching, especially the always on objective of music, which is the best part. And the music was wonderful as always. But yeah. No, I want to thank you, Bursik, that was a great race. GG's.
Thanks. GG's.
Thank you, Neobari, for rolling that seed. Thank you, Rex and Kind Nerdy Housewife, for doing comms, and Cubs Rule for doing the tracking. I appreciate all you doing that. I got to go back and watch this because it sounds super exciting. But I hope you all had a great time, because I know I did. So, I'm looking forward to next week.
Yeah, I'm finding these a lot less jetty than 3-Mason. So it's not quite as a cardio experience as 3-Mason was, but it's been fun. And yeah, thanks to you guys and all the Restream team for getting these out there, adding the commentary and the tracking and everything.
Well, thank you both for letting us watch your race today, and good luck in your future races here in the Lali-Ho League.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
All right, those were our runners tonight, or this afternoon, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are. BursikBadger and groundflier. We are now going to send you on over to Nth, who is, I believe, doing a practice race. Make sure not to spoil this race, of course, but that's where we're going to take you next. As Kind of Nerdy Housewife mentioned earlier, we do have another race over on RPG Limit Break at 5 p.m. this afternoon. So make sure you come and see that. And that was Starman versus Zilch. That's going to be a hype race for sure. But I want to thank you for watching, and hope you have a good afternoon.